So hi everybody, you all have this reference photo, right? This one should be a bit easier, I think, and we're gonna start sketching it. If you didn't already, we can just quickly sketch. I see this house, that's kind of a nice focal point. I will pull it a little bit, not quite to the center, because right now in the picture it's just exactly quite in the middle. So I'm gonna put it a little bit below the horizon. So the horizon, not again, slightly above the middle of your paper. Move that house slightly below so we don't have this situation with our composition. And here I'm very quickly adding these two little houses with a nice country scene. We see nice kind of a misty look, a few hills, so you have foreground. This is going to be our foreground and second level of depth, and beyond, that's going to be the far beyond. So we can just look at different treatment, softer versus harder. And I want to add this path. It's really nice that those create a nice perspective. So if you can look closely, it kind of goes up this way. And obviously pay attention to the perspective, so it's very narrow at the end, and it comes out wider. That creates the depth. We have a little fence. I'm not gonna draw that, it's gonna be painted. And don't worry about all the little details again, just a tree, a couple of trees. There is a nice big tree popping in, so make sure you don't draw a tree trunk right parallel to the edges. Many times I do see artists, if I know it's in this photo, thank goodness it isn't, but well, maybe on this side, but I see a trunk right flush to the edge. It's a no, big no. Either away from the edge or just get rid of it altogether, and just here rough shape of some tree popping in. Then there is a smaller tree over here, and we'll have a lot of fun. This is a bit more simple, but it has lots of atmosphere, feeling, light. It will be fun. So a couple of trees on this side. Feel free to ask questions and in this whole process. So a little bit, bunch of trees popping in from here. And this is it. We are ready to start painting. I'm just adding a bit of this little detail here. I know there is a chimney. So give me a thumbs up when you're ready to paint. But generally we can analyze again. We're seeing the big picture always. So the shadow, there is a big shape, like darker shape, that is kind of over the house, covering this whole area, the background. It's all in the dark, and the light is right in the front with a few cast shadows. So we're gonna block it with big shapes again, starting from the sky. We're gonna wet it into big blobs of paint. Really make sure you just leave some white here. I would leave some white on the trees, basically just a little bit of white, because the light is going to be shimmering through these leaves. A little bit of light on the tree on the left and the right, and maybe a bit of paper, white paper showing through on the path. But generally we're gonna make it moody, meaning we're gonna use nice intense colors. So let me know when you guys ready, but hopefully you can see my lines. They're just kind of like, but very simple, very simple. I do see a whole bunch of other details around the house. We'll add them when we start painting, but again, it's gonna be dark somewhere in the middle ground. I call this middle ground. So background, middle ground, foreground. So somewhere in the middle ground, it's gonna be really nice and dark. So get your big brushes, get your rigger brush, pull your details. I'm gonna paint. Record. Here we are recording. Okay, now let's have fun. Okay, where's my, oops, my paper towel. Never mind. Okay, so here's my paper towel. Let's have fun. So here we're gonna wet now again the sky, the top area. Wet with a big brush. Spray if you want to, and we're going to create a nice gradient. So the gradient is gonna go now, this time we're gonna go opposite because the picture gives me suggestions. So we're gonna go yellow on top, more yellow, orange, not so bright. You can just tone it down a little bit with maybe a tad bit of whatever dirt you have on your palette. This way you just kill the super brightness. So I'm just gonna start from the yellow on top. We're gonna create a nice little gradient and a little ultramarine, but not so bright. Again, I'm just getting some dirty green here, kind of mixing it a bit to get it a little bit more muted. So it's not super bright. This way we want to create this kind of a cloudy atmosphere. So here I'm just adding some more of this dark tone.
Lyudmila?
Yeah.
What is that at the top? What color is that at the top?
This one is cadmium yellow, but toned down a little bit. I toned it down, so it's not quite from the tube really bright.
Okay.
Yeah, whenever you have dirt on your palette, just mix it a bit to tone it down. So I'm
Okay.
just popping some darker clouds now.
Now that blue mixing in with that yellow, is it not going to make it turn it into green?
The blue, I'm mixing it with some indigo to kind of tone it down a little bit, or brown, rather than, so when they meet, yeah, don't worry. And here with big brush again, still big brush, I'm getting again the blue, ultramarine blue. Don't get it fresh out of the palette. So here, and I'm mixing it a little bit with brown, less water, and that does create kind of a gray tone, very, very gray. So I'm just going to add a few clouds. Just pop them with your big brush. Pop them like this. And it's all wet on wet. We can do a few clouds. So yeah, when you mix ultramarine with umber or sienna, it creates a very, very nice gray. So just add a few clouds into this wet on wet area. Lots of water, a little bit more intense for the cloud, some more pigment, and I'm just popping it right here like that. Alright, so with the paper towel again, you can just dab a little bit, not too much, just a little to create a bit of a dimension to these clouds here and there. Maybe behind, far away areas. Okay. So I'm just lightening up a little bit here the house rooftop because that's quite light, so I'm just lifting a little where the sky went over. Okay, so make sure you don't go too many times over your sky. It should be alla prima. Sky should be just one swipe with color, a second swipe, and no layers, and just tap to lift up some white areas. I'm swiping. See, one big swipe with a paper towel. Make sure it's the clean side of your paper towel, slightly wet. I just created just a bit of a, on the right side, maybe a little bit of a ray. Okay, not too much again. Make sure it's not too much. And we're gonna start going down. So I'm just wetting the paper. And now we're gonna go from back towards the front. So the back is very gray and it's dark. So we're going to have some indigo mixed with green. Let's get some green hue in it. And let's pop in some brown and make a really dark, dull color. Again, that's the medium background that's not so intense, so make sure you have a little bit more water there. And we're gonna have a nice quick kind of brush strokes like this, just horizontal. You can leave some white. Obviously some white is popping through. We want to have some more feeling in that area here. Okay. I'm just going all across, so don't worry. So I know the trees are somewhere here. You can just kind of swipe a little bit, but we will paint over it. So now big brush strokes, large areas, just blocking, pretty much blocking everything. So let's wet the bottom part of the paper. Wet. And we're gonna block it very, very brave and bold. Okay, so let's mix a darker tone for this middle ground right here, as we discussed. So this tone is going to be a little warmer than the background tone. So I'm getting the burnt sienna. There is a burnt sienna or a burnt umber, whatever is more intense, whichever is more intense. In my case here I have this Italian burnt sienna, which is very interesting. And I'm gonna mix it with some green. Let's mix it with some green, and we're gonna create a big block. So squint your eyes, see how there is a big dark block right here. Don't be afraid to really use dark. So maybe even introduce a little bit of indigo too. Otherwise your painting is gonna end up too light. We don't want that, so keep adding burnt sienna, viridian, and some indigo, and we're gonna have nice dark tones right here. See, with a big brush, we're just gonna pop in all these really dark tones. So everything is wet. We're just painting wet on wet. One brush strokes, not too many. We're going after the alla prima look. It's all very, very wet. So here I'm just leaving some light for that tree, and there is a bit of a dark right there. But now we're gonna mix the light tone for the foreground. So we're having yellow. So that's gonna be nice and bright. That's gonna be the area that is nice and bright. So yellow and green. Let's make a puddle somewhere. I don't have areas anymore left, but we're gonna make the puddle right here. So I have a nice bright green. Don't be afraid to be super bright, and kind of a dry brush it if you want, but have lots of color, nice and intense. We may finish this quicker than usual. Okay, let's see what happens. Okay, so we keep going with the yellow green. I'm just very, very brave. Move your brush bravely, get some yellow, lots of pigment, maybe some dry brush. See how it goes like this, and connect it to this shadow right there. It's nice and intense. Nice and intense. Now we're going to mix the color for that road. I'm gonna grab some indigo, that indigo, and some brown, because it's kind of a warm gray. Let's mix that. And again, almost like a dry brush technique, quickly just go. You can leave some dry brush feel to it in the beginning of that road. You can lift a bit where the light is. I know it's hard to see, but I know there's a little light here and there, so you can tap and lift in some areas. Keep it simple, keep it very simple and fun. Now I see that my shadow needs to get darker. Now that we put this medium value, let's put a little darker shadow where the tree on the right is. So a little indigo, a little green, indigo green, and some brown. Okay, so it's nice and dark. I'm just gonna pop in this dark here because it does need to be darker. Okay, so I know there's shadow on the left as well. I see the shadow that's being cast, I think, by this big tree that falls down here on that road and down. I'm kind of hesitant to introduce it, maybe just subtly, because it may create some confusion in your composition. But yeah, let's add this darkness here and we'll see how that looks. So just gonna go down. It's a shadow, so indigo, a few more, just pop it right like that, and it goes over the path, the road. Now we should light up a little bit, lighten up some areas here where the fence is. So I'm just putting some water and lifting. We're just gonna lift some of this area here where it's light, and over here too. That's gonna create some nice dimensional area. Okay, so now let's quickly block the trees on the left and the right. We're gonna mix the color like a medium value for the tree on the left, which is going to be this orange red that we have. Make sure you have lots of paint, nice and intense paint, lots of paint and water. Nice red, medium value. I should have probably gotten a bigger brush even, but just be very creative and move your brush in any direction possible. Dry brush it too. See how it's just big blobs basically. And I'm gonna grab actually my bigger brush. So to create some cool texture. Nice texture. Big blobs. If you can leave some light popping through, that will be great. Don't cover the whole thing. If you lost it, just dab it with your paper towel. Big blobs Maybe introduce some yellow here that I have. And that's going to be that tree here in the very front. On top of it we will add some shadow, but for now just blobs of color, really. Popping in, and right behind there is another tree, so I'm getting again that same red, and we can just introduce it. Just tap your brush, creating some shapes that are almost abstract. Don't worry too much about being precise. So that's that tree on the left, and we're gonna move to the tree on the right. Now it's a little bit yellow, more yellow. There's more light falling on it, so yellow always is a great color to show light. So big, almost dry brush in any directions. Again, tap some water if you want, even if it spatters here and there, it's okay. Just have fun. We're having a lot of fun, right? That's it. That's the key. So we're going to have some more red, maybe. Just whatever colors you have already mixed, you can just introduce them a little bit, so it's not just one. So these irregular shapes, make sure they're not parallel to your edges of your paper. You know, sometimes I notice artists have the tendency to create something that it is staying parallel. That's similar to that tree trunk that it cuts to the edge. No, it does. Keep going. And there's a little bit of a dark area here in the tree. So we're not painting the tree trunks yet. And I haven't even gotten to the houses yet. We will get there. We will get there. Okay. Too far. Oh, we have plenty of time. We have a whole hour to paint this. That's great. Okay, so let's now paint the house. I'm getting a smaller brush. Let's get a small brush. We're gonna mix a nice darker tone. So I'm mixing quinacridone here, or whatever dark red you have, with, let's grab some Viridian and see what happens. How about that? It does create a really nice muted tone. So that's going to be the dark area right here on that house. It's okay to leave some white showing through, so I'm not wetting this area at all. So this is all dry brush. We're being a little bit more precise, adding some dark. Move your brush, have fun with your brush strokes, but again, be precise. You're just adding. Make it look good. And we're going to add some dark, maybe a little bit more red for the other house. So the red from the trees is going to communicate with the reds here in the house a little bit. Is there hay stacks, 2 stacks of hay? I can't see, it's far. I'm looking at my laptop. Anyway, here it is. This is the bottom of that little house. Slightly lighter tone and warmer on the left side to show light. So both sides are not quite the same. And I'm leaving little dots of paper popping through. That creates a nice shimmery effect in your painting. Okay, so we can leave that rooftop white or light, whatever it is there, to kind of get the eye there, but the other rooftop could be more gray. So I'm mixing the ultramarine with brown. Just some cool tones, really. And we are painting this nice roof right there. You can leave a little bit of white edge, well, right where it's touching the side, right there, a little bit. So it's nice and cool tone. Maybe lift the side a bit to whiten up. Okay, I just lifted slightly on the right side of the house, that whole area right here, to give some more light. Okay, so I'm gonna soften these edges here. I know that there's dark. I'm gonna start adding more dark towards the bottom, and little by little just create some, I don't know, I have to go real near my picture to see what it is. Okay, so it is something, maybe even you can improvise. I'm adding a bit of a fence, tiny little dots, very tiny. So we just keep adding stuff a little bit darker at the bottom. Remember, that's all shadow, so brown and indigo. It's gonna create really nice darks over here. Stack of hay. Okay, we can just lift that area. It's nice and dark. Okay, some more dark on this side. Just whatever you see, just tap with the tip of your brush. Whatever happens. Whatever happens. It's gonna be good, don't worry. Here, let's lift a bit. Here for that little hay. I know it's a mega detail. We'll get to it. Don't worry too much if you didn't get to it yet. So we're gonna add now the trees. On the right, there's a bunch of darker trees. So again, I'm using this, wait a minute, indigo and some viridian. Okay, we're just gonna add them. Remember, if you notice, they're all lit from the right side, so the light is coming from the right, back and right. So okay, let's add a bunch of trees. Okay, I'm gonna warm them up a little bit. Not so cool. Viridian is a very cool green. It's always nice to mix it with something else, like sienna, to get a nice tone. So I'm just adding a bunch of darker trees here. A little bit of yellow on the side to get that light. Keep it alla prima, not too many brush strokes on top of wet. If you're going to put a second layer, we're going to, if you put basically another brush stroke on top of wet, make sure that it's thicker paint, otherwise things just get moving around and, I don't know, too blurry and too light. Okay, so we're gonna get a little bit lighter bunch of trees. right next to it, slightly lighter, again that gray green tone. Make sure they're not too organized, like tap tap. We're not creating patterns here, it's like very random. Bunch of little trees behind. Oh, there is a house right there. Ooh, I just saw that. Okay, that's okay. I mean, you can add it if you want. You don't have to, but that means you have to kind of paint the negative shape around this tree, and then you can just suggest. Let's suggest that there's something, a bit of a rooftop right there. So a little indigo, same color that we use for the other house. A little bit of indigo for the. I'm just gonna indicate some rooftop going on, and usually, of course, adding a chimney definitely conveys the idea of a house. Okay, so it's still very wet. Let's lift some of these edges here to create more atmosphere of those trees around. They're far away. They shouldn't be all cut out. They should be all very soft and fuzzy. All right. So let's focus on our foreground a little bit, and we're gonna focus on the path and all the details. Little by little, we're starting to add details. I would not worry about this little tree here showing. That's why we're very selective of what we're adding. Anything that does not help your composition, eliminate it. And by adding to the composition means just little detail or a little, let's say, chunk of a bush that won't do a single thing. It's actually going to make it more distracting. So we don't want that. All right, so we're going to get, okay, so I'm going to get another brush. We need to add some more stuff on those trees here on the leaves. Hopefully they're a bit more dry right now. So let's start with the one on the right. So I'm just getting a bit of burnt sienna, nice thick with water, good amount of pigment, and let's start popping a bunch of little leaves. Now we're getting into more details, and again, it's just pop brush strokes. You can use some reds. My tree on the right is still pretty wet, but you can just have little dots like that just to create this texture of leaves that's going to create the whole idea of leaves. Okay, so big, small, coming out a little bit. Just adding more dimension to this whole area. So this is because this one is hit by the light, it's gonna have a lot more yellow. If you have cadmium yellow, I'll just go straight from the tube, or even lemon yellow, and you can start popping some light right here. More yellow, definitely yellow does show light very nicely. So just tap, small little taps to create these little leaves. Horizontal, vertical. Not too much. Again, squint your eyes every time when in doubt, or when you catch yourself doing too many details or getting lost. Always squint your eyes. It's gonna show you the big picture. Keeps turning off. Okay, so we're gonna have some more yellow. Little spatter. Okay, so it should have like a nice shimmery effect, almost abstract. Not too much, don't overdo it. In just some areas. Here and there. I'm gonna add a bit of dark here. Okay, so with the rigger brush, we're going to add our tree trunks. So I'm mixing a nice warm dark tone brown with indigo brown, not too much water, almost dry brush. We're going to create this tree trunk right here, and it's nice if it can be dry brush. If not, just quick brisk brush strokes. Suggestion of just a little bit, some branches popping through. That's going to give a good sense of, yeah, that is a tree. It's not just a blob right there. And those are just showing, now you see it now, kind of like start, stop, start, stops. It's not throughout or in front. It's just behind, in between these leaves. Now you see it, now you don't, kind of thing. So you can have things popping a little bit, and you can improvise a bit, but again, don't overdo it. Now another bunch of tree trunks. I see there is a trunk here right parallel. Don't worry, we're not gonna do it. We're going to just create a bit of, with our rigger brush, hold it vertical so you have nice confident lines, not like a pen or a pencil. Whatever mark it leaves, that's it. And we're having again a little bit of a suggestion of branches showing through. Yeah, don't worry about this parallel tree trunk right next. Okay, so again, we're continuing with these little tree trunks. They will be slightly lighter on the ones that we painted here, those dark ones, slightly lighter, and just very brave little brush strokes, almost dry brush. Don't make it like 1, 2, 3 all the same distance. Make two close and one a little bit farther away. Maybe a slight suggestion of lines and not too much. We definitely need to add that shadow under the trees, so I'm adding viridian and red a little bit here. I just want to put this cast shadow right there. And I lost that house that I was gonna, the little rooftop here that's popping. Maybe I can just edit now. Just a suggestion again with the little chimney. The chimney is going to definitely suggest a house. And maybe a bit of an antenna. How about that? All right, so I'm just softening a little bit that shadow here so it's not so drastic. Yeah, see how everything kind of dries lighter, no matter no matter how dark we go. I have that situation a lot sometimes, so I go a second layer and we darken it a little bit. So here I'm mixing the viridian with red to get a nice dark value, and you can always just add this shadow, dark shadow, just right here, just darken it a little bit. want too many sharp edges, especially if it's far away. All right, now we're adding some more details. Now let's see this fence. We're going to do the fence, and I'm gonna get the rigger and nice brown tone, almost no water, just really nice and dark. Let me just study it for a second. I need to take a look. Okay, yes. So there is a cast shadow on the left, but so it goes something like this. So make sure it's nice and dry brush the way you do it. And it's going to create a very nice sense of depth. So as it goes far away, it gets a little warmer and more brown. So here we're just adding a couple more of these. And these lines, they're far, more distance between them and very close as we go far away. So this is the perspective we always talk about. So make them a little bit closer as they go far. This way you create some sense of distance. And this fence is casting a shadow on the left. So we're gonna mix the shadows warmer, obviously. So I'm getting a bit of a sienna, and you can have just a suggestion. Now don't overdo it, like tap should come from these little posts. The cast shadow should be coming from those. Just like that, and don't overdo it. I don't know if it looks like a shadow. Maybe I can just soften it a little bit so it's not so sharp. This way it's gonna look more like a shadow. There you go. All right, so now we're gonna add some more details inside that on that house. We need to add the chimney there, which is really nice and cute. Let's add a bit of a chimney. Warmer tone. Opposites, like soft areas, some harder areas. Wet on wet versus dry brush is going to create those opposites, as well as, you know, temperature, color temperature. You can choose to have one predominant, like mostly cool tones everywhere, and just some warm accents. Or vice versa. So we are doing good. How is everybody doing? I bet there are some masterpieces in the workings right now.
Oh, Dee. Diddy's in there shaking her head. Debbie's shaking hers too.
No! I bet it's good. Give it.
I'm chopping this one up to learning some technique. That's it. Nobody's going to see it.
No, you're doing great. You're doing great. I bet you're doing fabulous.
I signed up for your next class, the portraits class,
Okay.
but I'm not going to be able to make the first class.
Okay, I'll do a video.
And I'll be at the other two.
Okay, I'll have a video, no worries.
Do you have any celebrity suggestions, like ideas?
For me?
Yeah, anybody.
No.
George Clooney? You guys
That's
want
who I said.
You guys want to paint George Clooney? Yes.
I would do a Harrison Ford too.
Oh yeah, he's great. Yeah, Harrison Ford.
I was just looking at some celebrity pictures of celebrities when they were young and old.
Oh,
Wow, what a difference.
What a difference.
I don't know which is better, the old or the young.
That's true. Some age better than look better in their old
Sean
age.
Connery aged really well.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, Sean Connery. Yeah. Super duper.
And now all of our minds went to males. Anybody got a female in?
I know, we all think about God, men. Hey, it's a girl class. We don't have any men in the class, so it's okay.
Somebody like Elizabeth Taylor or Judy Garland.
Audrey Hepburn.
Yes.
Yes.
Awesome.
Oh, yeah, she's very expressive face. They're all great. They're all beautiful. Definitely. So for the portraits, I'll definitely suggest you guys try to draw it ahead of time, because drawing the portrait takes some time, and being really accurate with the drawing is the key. The techniques, of course, we're gonna go over, you know, the skin tones, the shadows again, and everything, but the drawing is very important, and kind of understanding human anatomy, which I will draw it from scratch, and I will talk about everything. But yeah, if you never ever, if people have never ever drew a portrait before, definitely they need some more time to make sure it's accurate.
All right.
Okie doke. Anybody wants to show? Brave enough, brave souls.
No.
No brave souls.
Yeah, I'm
Jeannie. I'm putting her on the spot. Poor Jeannie. Wendy. Yes. Show me. I want to see. Okay. So here. Wonderful. Okay. Whoa. Okay. So a little bit far away. Yes. That's beautiful. That is absolutely beautiful. I love it. I love those trees. I love the house. Maybe you need some more intense values on the right side, on that tree right here.
Which, okay.
The one on the right. Yeah, a little bit. Put some darker. Yeah, so it's not completely surrounded by dark, and then it's too light. So just put some dark somewhere.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
That's awesome. Now we have
Debbie's coming down.
Debbie. Debbie.
There
Okay.
she is. I'm trying to get there.
Yes, awesome, beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. I love those trees, the path looks great, and your sky looks wonderful. I see the shadows. Yeah, everything looks absolutely great, and the freedom of movement, great job. I love that. Yeah.
I'll show you my disaster.
Don't. Let's see. That's not a disaster. Okay, I want to see it bigger. Oh, that is beautiful.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
That's very good. I didn't get the depth in it, but I would have liked to have gotten really stuff because the perspective is not good.
It's beautiful. The perspective.
Some of my bed.
It's beautiful. I love it.
So that's going on the back burner.
It looks great. I love your trees. I love everything. It's just that sharp edge in the background that I saw. Maybe needs to be a little bit softer because it's the background. But other than that, I love those trees. Yeah, and the path looks great.
It's going on the shelf.
Hey, Lyudmila.
Yeah. Jeannie, there you go. Love it. Love it.
With making that, I couldn't get it to look right.
That little house. Well, you did. You made it look great.
But doesn't it need to be darker?
You may want to just no. It's pretty dark. It looks pretty dark to me. Which side?
Is this one going to be darker, or is that one?
Oh, the bottom. Yeah, definitely the bottom part, like the side of the house needs to be darker, because imagine how the light is coming from above. So definitely whatever's underneath should be darker. But it looks great. Looks great. Have those trees kind of come out a little bit. Have a little just break out of the. Okay. Oh yeah, actually they are coming out. Yeah.
Bring them out more over here
Um.
and over here.
No, your trees look actually fabulous. Don't worry about the trees.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Just make the barn darker.
Yes, that barn darker and the eye is gonna go right there.
Okay.
Right, experiment sometimes with just wet on wet, like if you wet the whole paper, just wet the whole thing and make little blobs of color, and after that just add some dark. So that's also a great technique to experiment with.